remains the number one. Won't you please, whatever platform you're on, like us, subscribe to us, hit that notification bell, give us a thumb up so we can get that algorithm shifting in our way, okay? We look forward to talking to you from around the country, around the world today. We talk about those things which are relevant to your life, but always from a biblical perspective, understanding the times we live in, but knowing exactly what to do. You can give us a call, toll free, from anywhere in the country, around the world, 866-743-8267, 866-743-8267. In case you're wondering, is this On Point? Welcome to our new set. We're so glad to be broadcasting from our new set today. Give us an idea how you feel about it. But also, joining us once again is our world-famous co-host, our historian, our resident politician, our expert on things of the world, Reverend Nicholas A. Smith.
Boy, good morning.
How you doing,
what's
man?
What's up? Doing
oh,
okay.
man, you doing all right? You comfortable on the sofa? They
Yeah,
gave me a chair and everything.
Yeah.
I am. What's your opinion on this whole telephone top secret nonsense this week?
Oh, I forgot to put that down. Yeah.
I didn't even read this yet. So
Yeah.
what do you think's going on with that?
Maybe possibly their own hubris,
Yes.
and because they're already showing us they're doing whatever they want to do,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember a couple years ago,
Yeah.
Benghazi emails was the biggest thing.
Hair on fire
It was the worst thing in the world.
in the absolute world.
Yep. And now all of a sudden,
It ain't that big.
it ain't that big of a deal. It was a mistake. Move on.
Here's what I think too.
Mhm.
Add to what you said. I've watched them make excuses for this.
Mhm.
I understand there was about 20 people on that text chain.
Mhm.
No one on the text chain even noticed the reporter was in the chain.
Right.
That's the first thing.
Mhm.
What that tells me is they've been doing this all
All
along.
along. Yep. Yep. Yep.
It's not the first time.
Mm-mm.
But also, I suspect, and I could be wrong about this,
Mm-mm.
since somebody had that reporter in their phone,
Mm-hmm.
probably the guy that set up the text
Mm-hmm.
chain,
Mm-hmm.
I believe he was leaking,
Yeah. Some information. Yeah.
especially since that guy's supposed to be an opponent.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was leaking
Yeah.
information, and this guy's getting his stories, and they didn't know how. But how can they say, okay, we plan to bomb people,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not privileged information?
Right, exactly. And why are you doing it on a text thread? That should be an in-person meeting.
Yes, sir.
No
Yes, sir.
recordings, no text
And one
messages.
of the guys was in Russia at the same time. Yes, one of the guys was in Russia.
No.
And you can't go there
Mhm.
without your phones being tapped, without your room being bugged and filmed, which is what I believe they have on the president.
Mhm.
They follow you the whole time,
Yeah.
especially if you're a politician.
Mhm.
So see who you're meeting with,
Yeah.
and they're trying to kill it.
Yep.
They're trying to act like it's no big
No,
deal.
It's
It's a big deal.
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And the people defending it,
Mm-hmm.
they'll find anything to defend this
Oh, yeah.
administration.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I know if it was Biden, Obama, they'd be calling for impeachment
Immediately.
immediately.
And firing all the people
All of them.
involved.
Mm-hmm.
All 20 people on that text chain
Mhm.
would be immediately terminated.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw this morning that
Yeah.
Elon Musk was talking about, his cars are being attacked,
Mm-hmm.
and they're literally trying to blame it on Democrats.
Yeah.
But I've got a theory.
Mm-hmm.
So, say I'm a Republican,
Mhm.
you're a Democrat, you didn't vote for Trump
Mm-hmm.
because you believe what he said.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm a Republican, I voted for him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you didn't vote for him, and he's doing exactly what you believed he was going to do,
Yeah.
I don't think you have a reason to be that pissed off.
Mm-mm.
But if I voted for him,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I served,
Yeah.
and I watched my job go out the door, and
Mhm.
I'm watching the threat to my benefits, and
Mhm.
they're messing with the VA and my services, I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think they can blame it just on people that didn't vote for him. I think some of the people in MAGA are upset with him.
Yeah, they are. The guy that blew up his Tesla truck in Vegas, I believe was voted for Trump and them. So it's
they know that already.
Yeah. Now they ignored that, but highlighted the guy in New Orleans more than
you mean the guy that
ran, because it was around the same time. Remember, it was the same. It was a community park.
Okay.
But they were talking about the guy who did the tragic thing in New Orleans, where he rode his car down Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
But then I think a day later, the guy blew his truck.
But did the guy on Bourbon Street have a problem with Musk? Is that why he did all that?
No, he had a problem. I think tried to call him a leftist and that kind of thing.
Yeah. They tried to.
Yeah, he was a foreigner. And
he wasn't a foreigner.
Yeah. He
was born in Texas.
Right. But he looked person of, But you know how that is.
Anything that's not certain complexion is foreign now. So.
Yes, exactly.
So,
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some frustration from people, or and some people tapping into lawlessness on purpose.
Well, and if we look at January 6th, they stormed the Capitol. Common sense would tell you that they were Trump's people, and they were willing to do violence then. So all of a sudden, they're nonviolent people now. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Not at all.
And Musk said, I saw him say, I haven't done anything to hurt anybody. And the commentator was like, can you explain that? He says, well, we haven't done anything evil or anything to hurt anybody, so I don't really understand where all this is coming from. I'm like, he's detached. But then I remember that there were some suits in his plants, and that people of color, especially black folk, were segregated in the building.
Okay.
And that working conditions were really bad. And it was a norm for people to be called all kind of racial slurs in the workplace. And that was the environment of his plant. And then, of course, they got together and sued. And then they shut down the department that was running the lawsuit against him. And then they fired all the inspector generals. Now, there really was no reason to fire every inspector general in every department. But there was one that was investigating him.
Okay.
So in order for it not to look like they were cherry picking,
they had to fire.
They wiped them all out.
Yeah.
So all those lawsuits against him stopped. But then I just heard that he got a new contract, which is worth about $8 million a day.
Yeah. It's the constant. If it was anybody else, conflict of interest.
Oh.
You guys across the board between business and politics. We always knew it went on.
Yeah.
It was private, though.
Yeah.
Now the public display of.
Yeah. But they're trying to explain it away. It's brazen.
Yeah.
For instance, you can now come have dinner, if you were a businessman and you wanted to have dinner with the president, all you got to do is pay him $5 million and you can come to Mar-a-Lago and sit down and have dinner with him. There's no way you're supposed to be able to sell the president.
Right.
I'm just saying.
You're right.
$5 million a piece, you can go have dinner.
Yeah.
My question is, what are they serving?
I mean, for $5 million.
What kind of dinner you have?
Right. What kind of advice am I getting?
Hey,
but
I bet you they're going to go to.
Yeah. Now, I was talking to a Trump supporter before.
Okay.
And their thing was, well, he's just a businessman. That's what he does.
He's president now.
I know. He's a businessman. That's how he makes his money. As long as
he's a president now.
I know. As long as he's running the country the way we want him to run it, he can do all that stuff. But it goes back to.
But he's not running it the way they want him to run it.
I know. But see, that's the crazy thing. In their mind, as long as he's keeping these people in check, he's running it the way I want him to run it.
Well,
even if it hurts me.
Well, he's got to hurt their money and something else. 866-743-8267. Welcome to On Point, the #1 Saturday morning Christian-based call-in talk show in America, live every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. in Eastern Standard Time on any smart device at David G. Evans 1. Won't you like us, subscribe to us, give us a thumbs up, and tag a few people and invite them to join us on Point. We've got Scott from Vineland, New Jersey on the line. We've got some other lines open, so you can give us a call, 866-743-8267, 866-743-8267, 866-747-Evans. Give us a call. Let's go to Scott on line 1.
Hello.
Hey, Scott, how you doing? How are you? Can you hear Scott? I can hear you.
We lost him.
We'll get him back in just a second. So, I don't understand what it is. If it was any other politician doing this stuff, people would be in an outrage.
Absolutely.
I'm wondering how much, well, okay, I'm going to answer my own question. Perhaps the people that are still in his corner have not been touched by any of these things that he's done. So it gives them, as long as it's happening to somebody else. Yeah. But that's, like, I would never call myself a friend to someone and vote against that friend's best interest.
Right.
I just wouldn't do it.
No.
But you got guys that, you know, they got families and they voted against their daughters and their grandmothers and their wives and their girlfriends' best interest. That doesn't make sense to me.
Because of their perception of a woman's placement in society and in the family.
And coincidentally, you said that. I saw an interview yesterday, and this guy was saying women, three white guys, women should not be present in the marketplace. They shouldn't be present in any form of leadership. I mean, they were dead serious. But I'm wondering, the women that know this, why are they supporting that?
Because some of them are reared in that. Like a lot of those evangelical Southern Christianity, our place is to be homemakers, have kids, take care of your husband, your family, and let him go out there and do everything.
So that's the crowd that may believe that the man of the house should vote for the house.
Yes.
And women and people over 18 that live in the house don't need to vote.
You should trust your husband enough that God put
make the decision for all of you.
Make the decision for everybody. And I've been counseling long people. A man's decision doesn't always consider his family and his kids.
It's ludicrous.
Yeah, not all the time. There have been guys who have some guys who haven't. So, but again, some guys, how can I say this, that don't have the proper fortitude, love a subservient woman.
Right. Because I think you got to be weak to have to be around that.
There you go. Yeah, you said it before. To not a woman. We like a woman that has share your thoughts.
Sure.
Tell me what you're thinking about. Have enough strength to have voice in this relationship. Rather than there's one documentary, I can't remember the name. It's on Amazon, and it talked about that family that had 20 kids. The Duggards. You remember them, right? They had a reality show. And they did this whole thing on how a lot of them were reared on that style of teaching. Of the woman's job is to be a homemaker, have a bunch of babies, the man's in charge, and he let their boys and the men get away with so many things. And the woman just have to sit there and take it. Even whipping the wives sometimes. If they do something the man doesn't.
They get out of line.
Yes. I mean, these are Christians talking about it's okay to abuse your wife if she doesn't do something that you want.
What kind of Christianity is that?
It's that extreme Southern conservative evangelical.
But where's that biblically?
It's nowhere biblically. But they try to use some biblical principles to justify their point, like Handmaid's Tale.
Chastising.
Yeah, chastising.
Let's try to get Scott again on line 1. Scott's calling from Vineland. Hello, Scott. Still having an issue? All right, we'll keep going.
All right.
So I'm watching this whole thing devolve into a discussion that pushes these negatives aside and halos on one thing, and well, I like what he's doing with the economy. You can't say that right now. You can't say the economy. Well, he's making us more safe, but this talking head that he has for him at the White House, she's given the impression that every person that's deported is a criminal that was raping and stealing and murdering American women. I noticed that they're talking about the big thing is raping women. Mm-hmm. So that's designed to create some fear and make them believe that everybody that doesn't look like them is a potential criminal. Yep. I still think that the assault is on African Americans in this country, and underneath all of this is a plan against African Americans. You know, because they made DEI all about black folk, and it's not. You know, the veterans are in there above African Americans as far as benefit. White women, Asians, Hispanics, Cubans, they're all benefited from DEI more than, I think we're 7th and 8th on the list. But it's been framed, and it remarkably geniusly framed.
It is. It is.
That when you think DEI, you're thinking black people. And it was so good that I think a lot of black people, when they think DEI, they think black folk. Yeah. They don't even realize who's benefited from it the most.
And what they've shown is that all those other groups before black people is that as long as they can make them feel like they're different than us,
absolutely,
they will always go along with this,
absolutely,
not realizing they still see you in the same boat.
Until now,
yeah, because
there's some unrest. I would love to hear how Vance and his brown wife get along. Not unless she's totally convinced because she's married to him that she has that racial proximity, and that makes her different than everybody else. But they say that I saw a video about him and the sites that he visits and that he follows. They're highly racist, so racist that TikTok made the guy take them down. Okay. And I thought TikTok was almost anything goes. TikTok, so it had to be pretty bad for TikTok to say, no, you can't do this.
Wow. But we saw it with the affirmative action in colleges.
Right.
With the Asians.
Right.
America has a way of putting a black face on something to change a rule.
Absolutely.
They did it with marijuana. They did it with watermelon. They if you would, the welfare queen.
Absolutely.
Who was first Bush and all that?
As if she was the only one.
Thank you. And didn't even exist, but had these people afraid of this brown woman taken from us. When the majority of people on welfare don't look like us.
No, not at all.
And, but I mean, it's Indians in India. They have the caste system too, right?
Yep, absolutely.
In Haiti, in Dominican Republic,
you can't escape the caste system in India. Yep. No matter how educated you get, how much money you get. Yep. The caste that you're in is the caste that you remain.
And if you're this dark, you over here.
Yeah.
This light, you over here.
But we can't forget our own history because we were color divided for a long time.
Yep. Seeking acceptance.
Absolutely. The closer you were to white, the more beautiful you were, the more opportunities you got, the less threatening you were. And if you were a light-skinned black woman, you were much less of a threat.
Yep.
But all you have to do is look at the historic copies of Ebony magazine, and you'll see the evolution from trying to pass to trying to be ethnic.
Absolutely. Yep. But it all goes back to they do a wonderful job at framing narratives.
Absolutely.
And they'll harp on it over
it's genius.
And over again. Like with the Lincoln Riley thing.
It's genius.
You know, tragedy. The guy should be prosecuted for killing her, doing all this stuff. But they harped on the fact that he was an immigrant and held it up. This is what they're going to do.
No, when it's actually only been 12,000 people over the last 20 years. Now, if you turn that around to crimes committed in America by somebody other than an immigrant,
it's a lot more.
Come on, man. Come on.
A lot more.
Come on.
But they do a good job at framing it.
Absolutely.
And people go along with it, but they know fear works. It reminds you of Nixon.
Let's see if we can get to Tom from Fort Lauderdale. Good morning, Tom. Is that you, Tom? We're still having some technical difficulties, you all.
Tom from Fort Lauderdale.
Hopefully,
we can hear you.
We're hearing a little something.
This time would have walked away from.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tom. Is that you?
That's you, Tom? I'm trying to get through. Are you picking me up?
I can hear you. It seems to be a feedback issue.
We're hearing a little something.
Yeah, it's a feedback issue. Hang up, Tom. We'll call you back. So, I'm not. I've been having these conversations. I'm trying to be tactful, and some of the people that I had some confidence in don't know how to approach me at this point. Because I don't think they want to have the conversation with me. Because in my world, I can't vote against a person's best interest that I care for. I don't see myself doing that. How do I look you in the face and say I voted for a certain thing that I know is going to hurt you? And then this illogical explanation of I didn't vote for that. Well, yes, you did.
You did.
And if President hadn't been so transparent, maybe you could say you didn't vote for it. But between Project 2025 and what has happened in these first 60, 90 days, there's no mistaking that he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. And I think they ought to say, not, I didn't vote for that. I think they ought to say, I didn't think he was going to do that to me. But I don't think people want to go that far.
No. They can't tell the truth because they can't admit I messed up on this.
Yeah.
But you're right. As long as everybody else, you're completely fine.
America has historically been a spectator. We don't care usually about in the past 25 years. We watch wars happen in other places. We watch, and our thoughts and prayers. That's as far as we go. It was not until they flew the planes into the Twin Towers that we were ready to go cross seas, oceans, go up into people's houses and do something. Yet, we'll watch that happen to other people and try to dictate what their reaction should be based upon our less than involved position. It's just, I find it amazing that the heart of America has become so hardened until at times it appears as though we don't care about anybody but ourselves. But how can you call yourself the leader of the free world and not care about other countries and other people? That's why the Ukraine thing. I don't know in my lifetime if I've ever seen an American president cozy up to a Russian premier. I've never seen it.
Not in our lifetime.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But I think it's the spirit of our country. The way it started.
Yeah.
It's how it's still going.
Yeah.
It started off with only caring about a few people, and they act like it was America for everybody when it really wasn't, even for the people that was living there. Even amongst their own color,
yes,
it wasn't America for everybody.
No.
If you were poor and white during that time, you basically were cast aside. And greed, the country was built, I know this, greed and violence. It was. They got tired of the king and wanted their own thing.
That's right.
Let's start a war and find a way to get this money out of here.
Yeah.
We romanticized the origination of America, and when you really learn the truth of it, it was violent.
It was violent.
It was full with greed,
and it was dishonest.
Yeah. But
well, that's why they're trying to wipe all this stuff out of the history books. I understand they ran into a little difficulty. They say they inadvertently wiped Jackie Robinson and all those other people off the White House website. That wasn't a mistake.
No.
The blowback they got, they called it a mistake and put the stuff back on there. But they were actually trying to wipe out the involvement of the minority units in the past wars that we've had. And they started wiping that off the website too. It's almost like they don't want to acknowledge it. I didn't know, and maybe I'm being naive, I didn't know that our evangelical brothers but they're insecure about their own history.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the abject guilt, or maybe I do. I don't understand the abject guilt unless you still feel that way.
Yeah, yeah. My thing is, it was people from 400 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's not you today.
No.
If you act like got some sense, nobody be blaming you for that before. But I think what did the guys say when the conference we were at? There's a difference between, when they say whiteness, they're not talking about a white individual. They're talking about a system and a structure.
Okay.
So when we say whiteness is doing X, Y, and Z in the country,
mm-hmm.
it's not pointing out this particular person.
Okay.
It's understanding that there's a structure where a certain color
mm-hmm.
has a certain flow to it. If you don't,
okay.
like you said, the European thing, the
right.
less European you look,
right.
the more distant you are.
Right.
The more you're adjacent to that, the more accepted you are.
Yeah.
And what we see is that they're feeling like, well, whiteness is being threatened. They're being threatened,
mm-hmm.
not the power structure
yeah.
that we're trying to take down.
Yeah.
Nobody's trying to eliminate white people from this country.
No.
You know,
no.
Most black people, we just want equality.
That's all.
Treat us all the same like everybody else.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But there's that quiet thing that if they get in control,
mm-hmm.
they're going to do to us.
But we're not like that.
And we're not like that.
I think when I was when Raina and I were studying history and social studies a couple of years ago, and I don't know. I think I might have forgotten it because it was so long ago when I studied history at that level. You know, 5th, 4th grade, that type of thing. And they were talking about all of the countries that migrated here. From Germany and England and Spain and, you know, just all the places, but a lot of the Poland and most of them that came were basically slaves because they had to work years to pay the debt to ship across. And the deal was, okay, we'll get you to America, but you're going to have to be an indentured servant for 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. And they thought the deal was better than being in prison where they came from. So, you know, we look at Australia, and a lot of people criticize Australia because it basically was a penal colony at first. And the country grew, but the seed of it was we're going to put all our worst criminals out there. And then they started adapting, and they formed a country with some laws, but it was tough at first. But we try to distance ourselves from the fact that the immigrants that came were enslaved for years and bought their way out by working. And most of us don't even think about that. But that's the way the country was built, on immigrants and on servitude. So when Africans started coming, their servitude was a little different. They couldn't buy their way out. It's amazing history.
It's amazing. Just go back. This is a book called The People's History of the United States.
Okay.
I recommend people read it. It's a hard read.
Okay.
Because it tells the history of America from the people's standpoint.
Okay.
Not from the victor. When you say victor, the victor usually tells the story.
Okay.
We usually hear the story from the hunter, not from the lion.
That's right.
That book shows it from the other side.
Okay.
And it's one of those books you got to read a little bit, put it down.
Put it down.
Because it'll piss you off. Just, I mean, like when people talk about Christopher Columbus, like he was an evil man.
Was he?
Yes. When you start learning all the stuff that they did to those natives that were there.
Yeah, yeah.
Man. But again, a people that come to conquer are always afraid of being conquered.
True.
So they will always put themselves in a position not to be conquered.
Again.
And if anybody threatens to do what they did in their eyes, they'll quell that thing in a heartbeat.
What's amazing, though, is that the war fought here was all about not having a king, not having a sovereign, having a government that people participated in and people could influence by their voting. But I don't know what happened. Just this mindset of acceptance is kind of confusing to me because it really speaks against everything. The reason that people are independent is because they did not want a sovereign. Mm-hmm. But I'm amazed at how our politicians are accepting the sovereign-like leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because now they're desperate. A certain group is desperate,
okay,
and they want him to reign forever, as long as he keeps America the way that they want it.
Stay it off. Yeah. Maybe you can answer this question.
Just
and you know, we're having technical difficulties today. You guys keep talking to us. You can write us on the website, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Right now. Yep.
And then we can answer questions as you follow us on Facebook.
Yes, Facebook and YouTube.
And YouTube.
Both,
we can follow questions. We can answer your questions if you'll send them in on Facebook and YouTube today. Oh boy, what was I going to say? It'll come back to me. I've been doing a lot of thinking about why the American mindset is where it is, and wondering if the emotional support that our president gives people is so strong. I'm answering my own question. That family members are voting against their own family members. What kind of emotion is that?
Yeah. I remember the day voting, election day.
Okay.
So I'm in line.
Okay.
And in my area, I've never had to wait in line to vote for a federal holiday.
Really?
This is the first election. This is the first time in the federal election where I vote. I had to wait outside for a minute in line.
Really?
And I usually go early. I'm one of those like early
Okay,
ones.
okay.
And the lady in front of me was talking, two ladies in front of me talking. And the way they were talking about the hope that, you know, we're trying to save a generation. He's trying to help our kids and the economy and energy.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, at that moment, I kind of had a feeling she was going to lose because of how the country was.
Right.
I was like, I ain't never seen y'all come out in mass like this.
Right.
Even though she still won Harris won New Jersey,
Right.
but it showed a mindset that to them, he was their hope for the next generation to come.
But I guess I wonder how they feel now.
Yeah. But it goes back to the nation of Israel. We preached about election night.
Yep.
This is what your king's going to do to you.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we don't care.
That's right.
We still want
That's
it.
what the Bible says.
We still want it.
We
As
still
long
want
as he does this one thing,
We still want it.
we'll accept all of this.
But I think even in that, people never thought that thousands and thousands of people would lose their job.
Mm-hmm.
That veterans.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not even surprised about the veteran thing, because some of the things he said about veterans while he was president and while he was running, I didn't think he had a very high value on veterans.
Yeah.
Because he never, and then, you know, his whole thing with the military is kind of dicey.
Mm-hmm.
His whole thing with college, it's kind of dicey.
Yeah.
You know, so it's almost like he has to disprove these institutions because he wasn't accepted. And I'm just wondering if we're dealing with, you know, I don't think it's Cyrus, I actually think it's Ahab. You know, Ahab was petulant. Ahab was a victim. Ahab couldn't understand what people didn't understand him. Ahab did what he wanted to do. Yeah. And he had Jezebel there supporting him in his dysfunction. It's just the Bible, clearly, he's not Cyrus. If there's any type, it's got to be Musk is Jezebel, and because she's unelected, but she's influential. Matter of fact, she's more prominent in the story than he is as king. And she's not only influencing him, she's influencing other governments. And so that kind of shows me the dynamic. But Ahab's personality is the way he expresses himself is closer to, because Ahab's always a victim.
The crazy thing, can you imagine, the Bible calls, before Ahab married Jezebel, the Bible says he was the most wicked and evil king of any king.
Right.
And then she comes along and makes him worse. If he was already the most wicked before he got with her, and then she comes along and makes that situation worse, what kind of influence does she have? What kind of spell? I hate to use that phrase, but people will understand that phrase more.
Right.
that influence you can put on somebody to make them worse than what they already are. And you're seeing that in this same thing now.
It was her agenda, not his.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to pass it on.
I mean, he's laying up in the bed, he's upset, he's in his room, and she comes in, what's wrong with you, man? She, I want this yard next door, and you won't sell it to me. Yeah. All right, I'll take care of it. Yeah. And nothing for her to have him killed.
Nothing.
Naboth was gone.
But that influence is real. Yeah. And we're seeing today that whole thing in South Africa where they want to offer the Afrikaners, the white South Africans, asylum in the United States. Yeah. And I'm like, you can't tell me he's not involved some way in this thing. Well, now I thought we were closed.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
You know.
I found out something about South Africa that I wasn't aware of the other day. I watched a video of a person who was touring South Africa, and she was talking about the abject poverty, even though they don't have apartheid anymore. The areas where most of the blacks live, no electricity, very little running water. I mean, the poverty is stark, and it's within minutes, just like in the United States, within minutes of a suburban area, there's an urban area that looks totally different. So they've got this apartheid lifted, but their lives still reflect the apartheid mentality. And I was shocked because when you hear about South Africa, and people that I know have gone to South Africa, all they tell me about is how beautiful it is.
Yep. Those parts over there. Yep.
Nobody ever talks to me about the poverty. It's like going to an island where there's a resort. In most situations, you have to drive through some of the worst poverty you've ever seen to get to the resort.
Absolutely. Yep.
And, I think the Caymans might be the only place I've ever been where from the airport to the resort, everything is stellar.
Yeah, well, as much as it costs.
Yeah, well, they have like 100 and some banks on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
7 Mile Island, so it's money.
Yeah,
and then everybody was putting their money there for a while.
Yeah,
but there's no unemployment there.
Yeah.
If you're not working in the Caymans because you don't want to. Yep. There is no unemployment.
That time we went, I thought I was in like Miami or something. I was like, yo.
It's a wonderful place.
Yep. But start reflecting back, right? But it's like the Dominican Republic.
Yep.
People forget that Haiti is connected to it's right
there.
Same island.
Yes.
But one side has one poverty. Yeah. The other side is full of beauty and all on the same island.
Yeah. Yeah.
One group lighter, another group a little darker.
Yeah. Yes.
But
the proximity.
It is. And you hear the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
If y'all want to go to African American Museum, go soon.
Okay.
So Trump has Vance going through the Smithsonian.
Why?
To see which ideology is anti-American.
Okay.
Or stuff that's against American ideology.
Which is what?
Which is anything they disagree with.
So what, are they going to take the stuff out of the Smithsonian?
They're probably going to want to remove those things from the Smithsonian. They got an upcoming museum they're going to build for women, dedicated to women.
Okay.
And their role in history.
Okay.
They were concerned about that. Of course, the African American Museum.
Okay.
Even the National Zoo. They're just going to go through to see. But again, you're letting somebody else dictate how the country's perceived.
It just came back to me. So, there's such a thing called midterms. It already appears as though that the tide is starting to turn. They've had a couple local elections, 100% Republican areas flipped. Pennsylvania was one of them. What could possibly be the agenda? What do they want to achieve in 2 years when they anticipate that at the midterms that the House and the Senate are going to get flipped? What's worth it between now and then? What do you think?
Money.
Okay.
To me, it's always money and power.
Okay.
Everything could be too reductionistic, but to me, it's more money, more power. We're going to do everything that we can to ensure that.
Because if I want to get elected again, why would I behave this way?
Yeah.
Why would I turn a country full of immigrants against me? And just because you ship a certain number of people out doesn't mean the remaining population still won't have a vote and an opinion. So what is it? Money. But they could see a flip in 2 years.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, I think MAGA's upset because they really thought he's not going to touch us. And now they're being slapped in the face, kicked down the street. And I think that there's I wonder sometimes, what's the prize, especially since the decision-making thing can be reversed. In 2 years, we could see a whole bunch of stuff reversed. Courts could hold stuff up for 2 years. What, is it personal wealth?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I think it's got to be. Let's get it while getting is good, as they say. Let's make hay while we're here.
Okay.
And then their hope is that what they're trying to do is trying to change the flow of the country in the sense of they're telling the judges, y'all shouldn't be dictating what the president does.
Right.
And they're trying to influence that area.
Yeah.
To try to get the judges on the side. But the whole point of the judges, the judicial branch, is to keep y'all in check, but they don't want that.
They don't want that.
They want to stay in power and put people in place that's going to agree with them to make sure. Like Musk was trying to go to Wisconsin to influence that judge. You heard about that, right?
Yeah.
And trying to pass out money.
Yeah, $1 million.
To influence a judicial election. How is that legal, first off? I mean, it probably is in this country.
It's not
but
legal. It's not legal. It's influence. You can't do that.
Yep.
When do you think the shine's going to come off Musk? And because what I think, I could be wrong, I think the president's letting him do all this stuff, and then when it gets really bad, the president's going to say, like he always does, I didn't know what was going on, they didn't tell me anything, and he ejects Elon after Elon does everything he does, wants him to do. So I get the impression he doesn't want to get his hands dirty, so he doesn't mind Elon getting out there and he'll turn the front lawn of the White House into a showroom, which if they tried to massacre Obama for wearing a tan suit.
Right. Yep.
A tan suit. And if I was Barack and I couldn't wear the same suit every day with a red tie. It wouldn't work for me. I'd have to run something else, man. Just come on, man. You tell me I can't wear another color suit.
Right. Right.
And I'm not saying go get some green stuff or nothing like that, but come on, brown, something, blue, beige, something. Sport jacket and some jeans every now and then.
I just wonder. I wonder if the split's going to be between Vance and Musk. If there's going to be an issue there.
I think there already is.
Because Vance has the ego too.
Yeah.
And he likes the spotlight.
He doesn't have any.
I know. But he's trying.
He doesn't have any.
To do stuff.
He wanted to go to Greenland.
I know. But I just wonder how it's going to turn. It's somewhere along the line, somebody going to step on somebody's shoes.
Well.
And they're going to.
Vice presidents, as a rule, are usually in the shadows.
They're in the shadows. Yeah. They do nothing.
But with Musk, Vance is in the dark. He's not. I mean, you hardly ever hear about him. He gets in that meeting with the guy from Ukraine and, tries to bolster his position with the president by jumping on another president. And I thought that was totally out of line. And then he gets ready to go to Greenland, and they say, don't come.
Yeah. I thought he was in Denmark somewhere.
Yeah, he went over there, and they started criticizing them, and they started, what you talking about? We've been in every war you guys had. You need to go home. Yeah,
and that's the other thing. If y'all planning on starting a war, I don't think it's a good idea for you to alienate your allies.
Well, they're stupid.
I'm just saying, you got the whole text chain about bombing people.
It's stupid.
I get we got bases all over the world and got little stuff everywhere,
it's
but
really dumb.
You need other people to help you.
It's really dumb. You can't mobilize without help. And the guy tried to tell us, you know, you guys are protected right now because you have oceans keeping you away from everything.
Yep.
But it does not mean we don't have vulnerability. And you need Canada on your side in the north, and you need Mexico in the bottom, in the south. You know, they're countries, and they're partners.
Yeah.
So, in the context of security, you don't want the top and the bottom against you, and nothing but oceans on the other side. And the last time we fought a war with Canada, we lost.
And that's the other thing. People forget Vietnam.
Yep.
Korea, even the second Iraq war, we withdrew from Afghanistan and Iraq not because we won. It's hard to fight an ideology.
Look,
and people living in mountains, and you know it. But we have this vision of we won every single war.
We didn't learn from Vietnam.
No,
they talk that trash. We got worked over in the jungle.
Yes,
you know, a lot of our guys, they served well. They got wounded. A lot of guys got killed. It was a tough fight over there.
Yeah,
because you were on their turf.
Exactly. So I mean it, but as you see, hubris and power. It always reminds me. What's the political show on Netflix? We like Spacey was in it. House of Cards.
House of Cards.
And when they were getting ready to get rid of him as president, let's start a war.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, maybe I watched too much James Bond.
No.
So I went back and watched some of the old ones too, right?
No, they have started wars to distract people.
I am sure some of these events are purposeful.
Oh, absolutely.
To maintain something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
People are expendable.
Yes. That whole Spectre thing, and they starting these little things across the country in James Bond. I'm sitting there like, I would not be surprised if governments have done.
Well, they have. I mean, the CIA in Nicaragua.
Yep.
CIA in other parts of the world. CIA in Vietnam. So that's not historically incorrect.
Yeah.
You know, we get our hands in stuff because L.A. was flooded with drugs.
CIA.
To sell money, so they could get money to, you know, and it's funny, the guy that was selling most of the drugs, of course, they eventually sent him to prison.
Yeah.
You know, because they just want to cover all that up, but they were buying weapons in Nicaragua with the drug proceeds.
Yeah, I heard a couple guys from in LA during the time. He's like, "How do you think the drugs get here? We ain't got no boat, we ain't got no planes. We live in the hood." He was like, "Come on." And Rick Ross, Rick Ross was saying that. Like, you know, he does his interviews now. He kind of mentions a little bit about it, but you can't sit there and say that.
He doesn't go too far in.
No, he ain't crazy. He ain't crazy.
He doesn't go that far in.
No. But Snowfall, the show, kind of depicted that whole.
You know, I never did start watching that
piece. Yeah.
You like that show, Snowfall?
It was pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like Ozarks too, but I had to stop watching it.
You had to.
I had to stop watching it.
It's too crazy.
No, it just after a while, I don't know why. Maybe we were just busy.
Yeah.
You know, because and to try to start over and catch up again.
Yeah.
You know,
I got a story from. I watched season 1, then I kind of fell off and just got caught up watching other stuff.
Yeah, because I want to watch that Kevin Costner thing. I can never remember. It's a cowboy thing.
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I hear that's supposed to be really good.
I heard it's very good. It's good. I heard it's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to start watching it at some point. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
We digress. I'm not sure. Do we care that little? I heard somebody say yesterday we need to be concentrating. Is Marjorie Taylor Greene crazy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I heard her say yesterday we don't need to be concerned about what's happening anywhere else, just here. And it's almost like we want to be the leaders of the free world, but we don't want the responsibility. You can't be the leader of the free world and ignore what's happening everywhere else.
Yeah.
These I don't know what it is about the Republican Party right now that they have all these bizarre people. Like her and that Boebert lady, and it's how did they get elected?
Fear. the conspiracy theory. You watch Fox News, you know.
Yeah.
All the rest of the
they call it state-run media.
Thank you. When somebody's afraid, it's easier to manipulate them.
That's true.
So if I can't find a logical reason, or if I don't like the real reason, I'll go along with conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And it's all this stuff, and go along with it to validate my feelings, no matter how crazy it is.
Yeah. What's really weird is that I wonder where the line is for both news systems. I mean, I try to watch Fox occasionally because you need to know what the other side is talking about. But their points of view seem so illogical to me. And the very thing they're willing to indict is the thing they're willing to excuse if it happens to someone they support. One of the things I've always liked about us is that when Obama was in office, if he did something wrong, something we didn't agree with, nah, that ain't right. He shouldn't have done that. But they can't do that. And I'm amazed that they're not allowed to have a dissenting opinion. But they can't say, I don't agree with that, but I still support them. It's almost like they can't say that sentence. And I don't know why. Because you're not allowed to disagree.
Yeah. Okay. It's almost like we talked about last night.
Okay.
We had a conversation in my office last night. That's the way that it's podcasters' news. The more controversial, the more crazy it is, the more money. They don't care how it makes them look as long as they got more money and more viewers. So they'll keep throwing out outlandish things. You know, it's everything now, even sports, debate shows. Nothing's straightforward.
Isn't that amazing?
News because they found out people will sit there and watch debate.
So we like drama.
And we like drama. O.J. Simpson Bronco Chase is the most watched event in television history.
Is it?
Yes. And the crazy thing is most people forget it happened during the NBA Finals.
I forget that.
They minimized the game on the bottom of the screen because people were glued to watching this white Bronco go down the street to see what happened.
Wow.
The most watched, and what somebody said was when the news people saw people's viewer habit of sitting there watching this car, that's when the 24/7 media cycle started.
Wow.
And all the negativity kicked in because they saw this is money in this.
Breaking news all day long.
All day long. Because if I get you scared, get you in front of this, you will indulge this thing more than you will breaking news, good news. But we see it in church, right?
Yeah.
You talk about heaven, blessing, faith, healing, you'll get a response. But not as much as hell. Your life is hard. Your life stinks. You're going through. It's terrible. You can't pay your bills. Your mama don't like you. You know it.
Yeah, it sounds like country music.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? We get excited about that negative stuff.
You done me wrong. Yeah.
That is the minds of the people.
Wow.
And people found a cottage industry in that.
It absolutely is true.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing, I'm always thinking about the other side of that. There's always, like decisions that are being made, there's always people attached to those decisions. And it's almost as though they're more concerned with the decision and no concern for the people that they impact. So I'm building a following on a podcast. It's nothing but negativity. I'm unconcerned about the influence I'm having. The number one concern, people watching, advertisers paying. That seems so wrong to me. That you could purposely decide to throw your integrity away and just push something that you know is not true.
Yep. Because that dollar, it talks. And I was watching Jamel Hill. She used to be on ESPN.
Yes. What happened to her?
She started her own thing.
Okay.
She got out of that. She's more of a cultural person. She writes papers and does books and all that stuff now. So she was going through the whole Stephen A. LeBron thing, right? And I didn't finish watching it, but she started talking about where ESPN decided to move out of more news sports to debate sports.
Wow.
And she was saying ESPN and Stephen A. love all of this drama that's going on with LeBron because it's forcing people to watch. And she's like, LeBron's playing right into their hands. because he's being a little petty. He's playing right into their hands because ESPN and Stephen A are like, yo, our viewership just jumped. Why do you think they're paying him? They just signed him to a $100 million contract, Stephen A.
Huh?
Yes, $100 million. Because he knows controversy.
So is he one of the highest paid in the industry?
Yes. He's getting paid 20 plus some odd $1 million a year.
To scream the whole time he's on television?
Yes.
Okay.
But when all you care about is money and views, you will do that stuff.
I saw a clip of him talking to LeBron at the game. And LeBron was very intense. Yeah. And I never saw Stephen A. so calm in my life. He was like, he wasn't animated at all. He was.
I will say LeBron was a little wrong. In the sense of this.
In
the sense of this, not him approaching him.
Right.
But why he approached him was wrong.
Okay.
So the whole thing is, Stephen A. never said anything personal about his son. He assessed his basketball skills.
That's personal.
You're right. The same way Magic Johnson did, Charles Barkley did. All of them said, hey, he's not ready yet.
Did they do it the same way?
Well, no, the thing that got him mad was a different thing. They all said Bronny at this time is not ready yet. Okay. It's clear he's not ready yet.
Okay.
He should have stayed in college another year or went to the G League, right?
Okay.
What got LeBron mad was when Stephen A. said he questioned LeBron's father part. That's the part I understand. He said straight up, LeBron basically quickly, why are you putting your son through this? Because you know people are going to critique his game because he's obviously not ready yet.
Right.
And you know he only got drafted because he's your son.
Right.
So then that spiraled into everything else. But anyway, they just know that those things create drama. Drama creates ratings.
So Stephen A., it was almost time to go. Stephen A. criticized the choice. LeBron took issue with the parenting question.
Yes, but LeBron came to him and said, keep my son's name out your mouth.
Okay.
But my thing is like this. Sports media, they're going to assess the game. Yeah. So, for instance, we talk about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
Right.
If we say Angel Reese is a great rebounder, but her offensive skills is not bad, it's bad. That's not a personal shot against her. We're watching the game and seeing she missed 20 layups a game.
Yeah. That's why she has all those rebounds.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? It's just like, come on, like. Anyway.
We're coming up on the end of the program. We're sorry for the inconvenience today and had some technical difficulty in our new studio. I'm sure they're working it out. We want to make sure you understand what's going on. You can join us tomorrow at 8 a.m. is our virtual service. 11 a.m. You do not want to miss what the Lord has been doing in our live service at 11 a.m. Get here as soon as you can. We want to also remind you that tomorrow, immediately following service, we're having our first pop-up social and our Get Acquainted Day. Get Acquainted Day is all about meeting our ministry heads and volunteering for ministry, finding out where you can fit in. But also our pop-up social is happening at the same time. We're going to have games, going to have some light snacks, going to have picture taken, the Easter egg hunt for the kids outside, weather permitting. Whole great fun time. We want you to be a part of our pop-up social tomorrow. Our Harvest Bookstore will be open today and tomorrow, of course. If you want to receive some news updates, what we're doing, you want to text to BBC News at 28950. If you are want to get inspired, BBC Elevate to 28950. Your prayer requests, we'd love to pray with you. We want you to send us your prayer requests to prayer@gotobethany.com, prayer@gotobethany.com. Join us on our David G. Evans 1 and our BBC of NJ YouTube. Subscribe to both of those. And also join us on our podcast platforms, DGEMS and On Point. In addition to this, Wednesday night, we want to invite you out. We're getting a premiere of the last episode of House of David. We're going to show the whole episode Wednesday night. We're going to start at about 7. The movie will begin at 7:30. We're going to have our little bit Bible study service, some worship, get us all prepared. 7:30, the movie will show. We'll see the last episode before anybody else in the nation. So we're getting a sneak preview of the last episode of The House of David, the 5th most watched TV debut in history. So you want to make sure you're a part of that. It's free, of course. Come on out and be with us on Wednesday night. Kids and all, we can watch it all together and have a great time in the Lord here at Bethany Church in Lindenwold, New Jersey. Now, I want you to stay strong, stay safe. Reverend Nicholas Smith, remember, faith acts like a thing is so. Even when it's not so bad, it might be so. God bless you, and see you next time on On Point.